Oude Gueze Viella.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I have got a bottle of Gueze. This is a Belgian beer, which is known as a Lambic. I'd imagine it's what would happen if the mad professor got the beer brewer's guide, threw it out the window and said, I'm doing it my own way. It's a very different style of beer in that it uses wild yeasts, spontaneous fermentation. It's got all sorts of things going on in it, and it's peculiar to Belgium. You'll only find this originally coming from Belgium. I think other countries now, especially America, they've got people brewing this, and it's something that when I first tried it, it was just so weird tasting it. My first reaction was, this is disgusting, and as it went down, it was like, this is the best beer I've ever tasted. It is like that. It is such a strange beer. I love it, and there's various incarnations of it. They use fruits. It's basically a lambic beer with wild yeast and as I say, spontaneous fermentation. And I'm just getting this open now, and it's got a cork in it. I bloody hate beers that have got a cork in it because I'm useless with corks. I've got visions of it going everywhere. Look at that. There's the cork, very nondescript, but yeah, I've got visions of this going everywhere when you open something with a cork in it. But it's open now, and I can smell it from here. And it just, the sourness. If you like sour beer, or you like Berliner Weiss, you're going to love this. If you like cider, you're going to love this. And basically what it is, it's the yeast. This contains wheat, it contains malted barley, and it contains hops. But it could contain fruit. That's what Lambic is. And I love it. And I'm going to pour this out now. And I am going to tell you exactly what it's like. I got this glass from Aldi. It's like a sniffler glass without the stem. It's really good for this kind of thing. That is so lively. I'm going to set it down there for a minute, let that calm down a little bit, and I'll just tell you a little bit about the ingredients that are in this. As I said, it's got malted barley, it's got hops, it's got wheat. But the thing that makes this, as with Weiss beer as well, it's the yeast that makes this unique. They use wild yeasts, naturally occurring bacteria, because of course the bacteria will feed on the sugar, and they will burp carbon dioxide, and they will puke and piss alcohol. It sounds disgusting, but you've been drinking it all your life, so I won't worry about it. This is a 6.5% ABV drink, and is in a 375 milliliter bottle. It's called Oude Gueze Viella. I went to Bruges, and I asked the fella for some goes, and he looked at me as if I had two heads, and I had to explain what I meant, and he said, "Oh, you mean Gueze?" And I said, "Yeah, I suppose it is," and it is. That's how it's pronounced. It's Flemish, so the G is like, it's like a soft, like a H. It's pronounced a H, so it's Gueze. And the E is like hard, so it's got like an ER on the end of it. So it comes from the brewery called Oude Beersel, right? Meaning Old Beersel. Beersel is the region in Belgium that it's brewed. They do one of the best creek beers, which again is a lambic like this, but it's got cherries in it, and they do the best one I've ever tasted. That is called Oude Creek. or Old Cherry, and they're a great brewery, and they specialise in lambics, or that's their main thing. But let's see how this is going. Yeah, let's calm down a little bit now. It's very cloudy. It looks almost like a wheat beer, and this does contain wheat, but it doesn't taste like a German wheat beer. Maybe a little bit like a Berliner Weiss, but not really. It's much more complex than that. Let's see what's going on in the aroma. And immediately it smells of sour fruit. Sweet and sour fruit, almost like a cider. If you can imagine like a really strong West Country cider, that's what it smells like. And again, as I say, it's got like the sour apple, but sweetness at the same time. It's really difficult to describe. But let's get it down the hatch. Before I do, there is the colour. It's virtually the same colour as a German Weiss beer, a good German Weiss beer, like a yellowy orange. Okay, let's get this down the hatch and see what's going on. God. Right, if you like sour beers, you are going to love this. If you like champagne, you're going to love this. It's a cross between a sour beer and a champagne. It's got a very, very dry mouthfeel, almost to the point where it's like, oh, it's really tart. It's got quite a, even though it's really, really lively, that does feel natural in the mouth, and it pushes the flavour around. And what you're getting on that flavour is it's like bitter apple, bitter grape. Champagne is probably a very good description of it, because I am reminded of a very, very dry champagne, and but then I'm getting sort of cider, West Country cider in that as well. You know, that strong West Country cider. I can tell you now, it's like nothing you'll ever taste. This is one of the beers that is either Marmite. You will either love it or you will hate it. I love it. I think it's great. I mean, look at the lacing on that. The lacing on that is superb. This will go really well with food, like strong meat, cheese, bread, that type of thing. Traditionally, it's taken with cheese, radishes and spring onions, and they do that with the cherry lambics as well. Because I'm not a wine drinker, I don't like wine, but I can imagine people that drink wine, but certainly white wine, you know, with fish and stuff like that, this would be a better alternative. It's got more body than wine. And like I say, you've got the wheat in this, which gives it a nice mouthfeel to it. The malt, I'm not really getting that at all. This has got malted barley in it. I can't really get that at all. The overwhelming strong flavour in this is sour fruit, and it's nice. And as I say, if you like Berliner Weiss, if you like your sour beers, you are going to love this. If you like your cider, you're going to love this. You know, I don't mean your cheap macro brewed cider. I mean your West Country, you know, strong cider. You're going to love that. If you like wine, like champagne, or a fizzy, very dry, fizzy sort of wine, you're going to love that. It's repeating on me because of the carbonation in this, but it's great. But it's amazing. I love it. What would I give that? Right, personally, I'd give that a 10 out of 10 because I love Oude Beersel. I love what they do. They don't do much, but what they do is superb. I like Gueze, I always have done, but I get that it's not for everyone. So I would give this, personally, I'd give it a 10 out of 10, but for everyone, you know, your average beer drinker, It may not be for them, but I understand a lot of people won't like that because of the sourness. Berliner Weiss is quite an acquired taste. This is as well. As I say, the nearest it comes to it is the Berliner Weiss, but the Berliner Weiss is a little bit sweeter. This is just, it's full on sour, almost to the point where your face is getting contorted, but I love it. So yeah, personally, on a personal note, I think it's a 10 out of 10. I'd recommend it just to try it. I had to get this from Beers of Europe, really good service from them, and as I say, if you're in Belgium, I mean, you're spoilt for choice there. There's other Guezes there. These are one of the top, in my opinion. Very small brewery, almost craft brewery, but their stuff is brilliant. The Creek beer is amazing. I'm going to get some of that Creek beer and I'm going to review it. I've had it loads of times and I just haven't bothered reviewing it because I love it so much, but I will. And remember, beer is working class champagne, and this really is champagne.